Warband. Another day in the arena. Thursday, June 4th, 2026. The night drew blood on the crypto tape, the bellwether of the entire artificial intelligence build-out printed numbers for the ages and got sold anyway, and the largest stock offering ever assembled opens its book this morning. There is signal in all three. Listen, start with the blood, because there is plenty of it. As of just past 5 Eastern this morning, Bitcoin trades at 63,600, down about 5% on the day, off roughly 13% on the week, and now trading at roughly half its record high. Ethereum sits at 1,770, down better than 5. Solana at $69, off near 8. Yesterday I told you to respect the 66,000 shelf. Overnight it broke, and the leverage did what leverage always does. More than $1.5 billion in positions liquidated in a single day, 1.4 billion of it long bets torched in the waterfall. This is not crypto bleeding in a vacuum. It is liquidity, and the liquidity turned hostile. The 10-year Treasury yield ripped to 4.82%, 18 basis points in 3 sessions, and our own engine flipped long bond trend bearish yesterday afternoon. Reading the movie before the headlines caught up, Federal Reserve officials hardened their tone with it. Expectations for rate cuts got pushed out of this year and into 2027, and the committee's hawkish wing leaned toward holding rates higher for longer rather than easing. The cut the bulls were counting on just walked off the calendar, and the signal engine caught the stretch in real time. Ethereum, through mean reversion, oversold at the 4 o'clock bell, the selling pulled to a near-term limit. Here is the contrast that ought to burn. A committee of central bankers sat in a room and moved the price of money and the timing of mercy by decree. 21 million coins. No chair, no committee, no ceremony. When the soft systems tighten the screws, the hardest money on earth is the one asset they cannot vote on. Now to the number that defined the night. Broadcom reported after the bell, and the print was a monster. Record revenue north of $22 billion, up 48% on the year. Artificial intelligence chip revenue alone hit $10.8 billion, up 143%, with more than $30 billion of AI orders stacked in the backlog. Management then guided next quarter to $16 billion in AI revenue, better than 200% growth, and reaffirmed the path to $100 billion by 2027. And the stock fell hard, down double digits after the bell on the best quarter it has ever printed. Read that twice because it is the whole lesson. When the finest numbers a company has ever posted cannot lift the price, that is not a fundamental problem. It is a positioning top. The street had front-run the print, whispered for more, and wanted that $100 billion target raised, not merely held. Chief Executive Hock Tan held the line instead of feeding the frenzy, and the crowd that had crowded in sold the disappointment of a triumph. Here is where the Warband earns its edge. Our engine called the exhaustion before the tape confirmed it. At the 4 o'clock close, the InvestAnswers Decision Support System flipped NVIDIA to optimize trend bearish and threw a confluence sell on Micron, the whole compute spine going risk-off in a single window. Then, 2 hours after Broadcom's numbers crossed the wire, the engine threw a confluence sell on Broadcom itself. It did not wait for the morning headlines to learn the crowded trade had run out of buyers. Short the abundance, long the scarcity, printed live on the chart. The demand for the iron is real and enormous. The positioning around it had simply gone vertical, and vertical always corrects. Now lift your eyes off the bleeding tape, because this morning the largest stock offering in the history of capital markets opens its book. The SpaceX roadshow begins today, and the company did what the giants rarely dare. It skipped the guessing game and set a fixed price, $135 a share. That pegs the valuation near $1.75 trillion and the raise at $75 billion, the biggest market debut ever staged, dwarfing Saudi Aramco's $29 billion record. The book runs through June 11th. The first trade prints June 12th on the Nasdaq under the ticker SPCX, and a full 30% of the shares are reserved for retail, triple the normal cut. A fixed price is itself a statement. SpaceX is not asking the market to discover what it is worth. It is naming the number and daring the demand to clear it. And the fight lives in that number. Morningstar pegs fair value near $780 billion. The ask, they say, is nearly double what the business is worth today. ARK. Invest sits on the other side, projecting $2.5 trillion in enterprise value by 2030 and calling the price grounded. Same rocket, two different decades. The Warband reads the engine underneath the rocket. Starlink, recurring revenue, billions in operating profit, 60% of the company's entire top line, more than 10 million subscribers paying every single month. This is not a story stock burning cash on a dream. It is orbital scarcity, with a cash register bolted to it, about to wear a ticker a retail account can finally hold. This is a decade-long ownership decision, not a day-one flip. Decide which decade you believe. One more from the Musk machine, because while the tape stared at chips and rockets, the autonomy story took real ground. Yesterday, Tesla more than doubled its robotaxi map, opening unsupervised driverless service to the entire Austin metro, out into the suburbs, onto Interstate 35, with the company's head of autopilot software confirming it directly. A year ago, this was a closed downtown box. Now it is a metro. But hold the discipline, because the gap is the story. Tesla has not disclosed how many vehicles actually serve that metro of 2.5 million people, and that silence is its own signal. The software scaled across the whole map overnight. The physical fleet could not have scaled with it. The bottleneck is not the brain, it is the number of bodies on the road. And that is the same lesson Broadcom taught last night. In this era, the demand is rarely the constraint. The build-out is. The brain kept shipping too. XI rolled out Grok Voice, the model stepping off the screen and into spoken conversation. On the watch list, X-Money stayed quiet overnight. No new ground taken. Mind, body, and orbit, advancing on one flywheel, a version at a time. Here is the frame for the day. Warband. Liquidity turned hostile. The Fed pushed its cuts into 2027, and the most liquidity-sensitive asset on the board took the first and hardest blow. A blowout got sold because the crowd had already bought it, and our engine flagged the exhaustion before the bell. And orbital scarcity opens its book this morning at a price it dared to name. On days like this, the weak hands feed the fire and the disciplined gather what they drop. I am Ragnar, the HODLBARBARIan. Stand armored, stack relentless, let the weak hands feed the fire.